Bruce Lee once said that he's not afraid of an enemy that practices 1,000 punches and 1,000 kicks once, but more afraid of an enemy that practices one punch 1,000 times. And I believe that you can translate some of this philosophy into all kind of aspects of life, especially guitar playing. So I woke up today, get into my practice room, grab my guitar and practice one lick 1,000 times. Let's find out in this video if this is effective for your practicing, if this is actually doable, and how long you will take eventually to practice one lick 1,000 times. Cheers, here we go. Well, one lick 1,000 times, and it took me around about 3.5 hours. I could have watched at least one Lord of the Ring movie during that time. For feet picking. I decided myself I will practice this lick 1,000 times and see the result, what is happening after I've practiced it 1,000 times. Not only because it's a super cool clickbaity YouTube title, but it's also for science! And especially for you, because yeah, I found out some really interesting kind of things that we can include into our practice routine. So, but before we are going into the results of what happened when you are practicing one lick 1,000 times, let us check out the lick that I have practiced. Well, musically speaking, the lick is actually pretty simple. It's just a scale, E minor scale up and down. Actually not that complex, but this is actually for us guitar players one of the hardest things and one of the hardest licks that we could play. And now don't go like, well, but I'm playing this kind of lick for 20 years now, I can play those licks. We often over-exaggerate ourselves when it comes to this kind of pattern and this lick, because here we have a lot of tricky stuff inside. Two-way pick slanting after every two strings, inside picking, outside picking, and then if you're saying that you're playing this kind of lick really like for 20 years or so, do you really play it with alternate picking? Or maybe do you have a sweep inside of it? Or maybe a hammer on or a pull off? Or do you really pick every note and have everything really good synchronized? To be honest, not to offend you,
I doubt it.
But at a certain tempo, I have the same problems as well. And there are just a handful of guitar players that I know from the current guitar scene where I could say, okay, these guys, they can clearly play this kind of lick at 60-note triplets on 150, 160 BPM, something like this. I discovered this summer by practicing myself with a slow motion camera on my iPhone that I'm not really picking everything, for example. So the big problem for especially my right hand is that it's not actually doing this. Everything straight with alternate picking. I realized after filming myself with this slow-mo function on my iPhone that I'm actually doing this. I'm adding a hammer on. That's not good. And descending, I'm not doing this. No, I actually did this. I played one note twice and then I had economy picking but not straight alternate picking. So I need to work on this really hard because I want to be able to play this. And therefore I thought, okay, what happened when I'm playing this 1,000 times? So I started this routine on 110 BPM 60-note triplets. Why 110? Because at around 110, 120 BPM, those problems that I've just described appeared in my playing. I started doing it on 110 BPM. I lose more and more control of what I'm doing, but I want to be in charge of what I'm doing, so this is why I'm working on it. Well, and I have to say the first 100 times took me around 20 minutes and these were terrible because I was extremely cold. It was not really pleasant to play this because I did a lot of mistakes and I only clicked on this clicker to check that I've practiced it one time when I'm practicing it one time correctly. So the attempts that I've tried to play this one correctly was above 1,000, maybe 2,000, you know. So yeah, the first 100 times was kind of more a little bit of a warm-up. Then the next 200 times I only practiced the right hand, to get really my focus on the right hand, to really feel, okay, do I alternate pick everything, or am I going back to this bad habit that I'm economy picking some notes and yeah, whatnot. So the next 100 times, the next 100 attempts was only the right hand. And then from 200 to 300 I only played the left hand, to have a little bit kind of resting for my right hand and to focus on my left hand, because here my left hand I have some problems as well. For example, especially when I'm playing descending, the pull-offs are not quite as tight like the hammer-on. The first note of every pull note was a little bit longer than the rest of the sequence. It was not really correctly 60-note triplets. Alright, 100 times done, 200, 300, going to 400. Now from 400 to 500 I started doing it in chunks and packages. Not like playing it once and then going to my mouse and click, okay, one done, and then the next one, and so on, so on, so on. I tried to play it 10 in a row, but a certain problem starts to occur here, and this is that I lost focus. What's going on in my mind was more like, oh, what I'm going to eat today? Oh, how do I edit this video? How do I make the intro of this video? Oh, this is a good idea. This could be the thumbnail, and blah, 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 blah. All kinds of stuff was going on in my head, but not what I'm practicing on this instrument here. And this is not really good. So I got back to practicing it once, clicking once, having a little break, a little pause in my head, and then going back to these exercises, which makes everything a bit longer, but it's a lot more effective because you are focusing on what you're doing and not like just practicing and then doing some mistakes and not realizing that you have done just certain mistakes, and so on, so on, so on. So this is one learning that I can get out of this. Try always to have your mind and your focus on what you are practicing, not wandering around with your mind and with your thoughts. It's really important to be in the here and now and on the thing that you're practicing. And these kind of little pauses in between each sequence can reset your brain and can restart everything, and then you go back, okay, exercise, okay, click, exercise, click, and it becomes a little bit more like a meditation, but with the focus on the right things. In this case, this exercise here. When I've reached the 500, I did a little break to get a little bit of fresh air. I went to my mother's place. There she was cooking something. I didn't plan this, so I was eating some delicious fries and some schnitzel, and then I was going back, and then I increased the tempo, to be honest. I went from 110 to 120 BPM, and to be honest, it felt really good. It was way better than I was expecting it. I expected to be bam, steps back, you know, like doing all the mistakes that I've done before again, all this kind of stuff. But no, actually, it felt pretty nice. So I continue with first doing 100 times normal, both hands together, then only did the right hand, then only did the left hand. The last 100, I thought to myself, well, okay, the 120, the last few 120 BPMs, they felt much better than I expected. Why not increasing just a little bit more? Just 10 BPM more and increase to 130 BPM, and boom, 130 BPM worked pretty well. I was kind of satisfied with, you know. I was really tired. At around 600, 700 attempts, I started to get really tired. Ooh. Sometimes I had this kind of rush of focus back again, where I was really into it again, just playing it, clicking, playing it, clicking. But sometimes I got really tired. But the 130 BPM, it worked. It was actually pretty clean and pretty decent, and I was again really happy with what I did. So that I made another 80 attempts, and then the last 20 attempts I even increased the tempo even more, 140 BPM. And there, yeah, it began to be a little bit more sloppy, but I said, come on, the last 20, I will nail these now. And yeah, I didn't nail it, but there are some mistakes here and there, but it felt right. I could feel the control I gained, which I couldn't had before. And this was really, really interesting to see in the last 20 attempts. And I was, of course, so rushed and so hyped that I played one lick 1,000 times in 3.5 hours. God damn it, that was not too bad, to be honest, no. Yeah, the last one. Okay, let's go, let's go. Woo-wee. Woo! Nice. Ha. Ha. Awesome, awesome. To show you this. Whoop, going from 999, can you see this? 999 to 1,000. 3.5 hours. So what lesson can we take out of this little experiment that I've done today? Well, is it effective and is it helpful to practice, one lick 1,000 times? Definitely, certainly. It helped me a lot. Do you have to do it in one run? Not really, not necessarily, no. You can easily splice up those 1,000 times into, let's say 100 times, but therefore every day, you know? So there is something about this saying and this philosophy from Bruce Lee, and I truly believe in this kind of thing. But it's not only the quantity of how often you are practicing a lick, it's also the quality. So always it's important to stay focused and not only to practice this lick just to a click. Do the 7 out of 9 method, do the running man method, do the 5 to 10 method, all these kind of methods, all these kind of practice methods that I share here on this YouTube channel. So much for this little experiment. I would love to see you subscribing to this channel, liking this video and leaving a comment if you have any questions about all this kind of stuff. And if you want to learn more about picking, my friends, therefore I have an online course called The Then of Speed Picking. There I have more than 5 hours of video material and more than 50 licks for speed picking. And because you've stayed to the end, I want to give you something. I want to give you a 30% discount on The Then of Speed Picking. Just click on the link on the description box, check out The Then of Speed Picking and then type in these words here on the discount. And there you get 30% off. So, I hope you liked this little video. I hope I'm going to see you in my next video. Cheers so far. Stay progress. Goodbye.